Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Transport Smoke Briefing for Monday, January 23rd. Over the last 7 days, we've seen precipitation mainly across the southern half of the Great Basin with lighter precipitation further north. This precipitation in Utah has been well above normal for the last 7 days. We've seen significant new snowfall with storms over the last week, especially over southern Utah. Further north, and west, we've seen a little bit of a break in the precipitation with regard to what's been going on over the last couple of months. So some drier conditions over western and northern Nevada recently, and below normal precipitation still over central Idaho into parts of western Wyoming. New snowfall over the last 72 hours has been generally minimal. The heaviest snowfall has been over southern Utah, but again, we saw heavier snowfall prior to the last 72 hours. And further north, just a spattering over the last 72 hours with drier conditions recently over western Nevada. Snow depth continues to remain high across the Great Basin, and looking at our percent of normal, even though the snowpack has dropped a little bit, we are still seeing snowpack well over 200% over the eastern half of Nevada into Utah, and then over western Nevada we've dropped to around 150% and still near normal despite some of the drier conditions over parts of central Idaho into Wyoming. The satellite loop from this morning shows the strong area of low pressure that is currently over Arizona will continue moving eastward, so we will see some wraparound moisture into parts of Utah and also some wraparound gusty winds over parts of the southern half of the Great Basin. Otherwise, strong high pressure remains in place off the west coast, and this will remain through this week into the weekend, so we will see some stronger inversions over parts of western areas of the Great Basin, but we will have some systems dropping down from the north to affect the eastern half of the region, so this may also kick the winds up enough even over western areas of the Great Basin to probably prevent some of those longer term strong inversions with poor air quality. But that remains to be seen going into the weekend. So again, for later today, that system continues to push south and east into Arizona. Low fire potential will continue through the 7-day period with both the recent wet conditions we've seen and also the upcoming storms, at least the lighter precipitation we'll experience over the eastern half of the Great Basin. So those stronger winds today, again, will affect southern areas of the Great Basin where we could see wind gusts in excess of 30 or 40 miles per hour. Mixing heights will remain high in the south and lower up north. Relative humidity will still remain high with most areas above 40 or 50%, even with the drying conditions in the west, and drop to around 25% over southern Nevada. Dispersion will remain obviously good over southern areas where the winds will be stronger and will remain poor in areas further north under some of those inversions and lighter winds. As we move into Tuesday, the area of low pressure is well to our east, and we will continue with that northerly flow over the eastern half of the Great Basin with the high pressure along the west coast. Transport winds will decrease but still remain somewhat breezy over especially the higher terrain of southern Nevada into central Utah. This is where mixing heights will be a little bit higher, and we'll see those lower mixing heights over western areas of the Great Basin closer to the ridge. Relative humidity will drop a little bit on Tuesday into the low 20s down over southern Nevada, but again still above 40% elsewhere. Dispersion will remain good over southern Nevada where those somewhat gusty winds will continue into parts of central Utah and poor elsewhere. On Wednesday, the ridge really builds into parts of the west coast. We will see a weak northerly system dropping down a slider into the eastern side of the Great Basin. So some clouds and some showers are expected, especially across Utah and Wyoming into eastern Idaho. Otherwise, continued low fire potential. Transport winds will be kicked up a little bit again with those northerly to northwest winds as that next system drops south. Only exceptions will be obviously closer to the ridge over western Nevada where we see those lighter winds and lower mixing heights. Relative humidity, very similar on Wednesday to what we'll see on Tuesday, and then still good dispersion in the south, poor up north. We will see temperatures gradually warming through the week. Today we will see highs in the 20s and 30s in most areas with the exceptions of the far south. And then as we move through the week, we'll see those temperatures tick up a little bit, still below normal across most areas with highs in the 20s and 30s, but we will see the highs reach the 40s over western areas of the Great Basin. Forecast clearing index for the next few days, we will see some higher clearing indices today over southern Nevada, and then decrease on Tuesday and get kicked up again on Wednesday with some of those gustier north to northwest winds. 3-day amounts of precipitation, very light precipitation. Any systems coming down from the north will bring some changes in temperature, some clouds, and then only some light precipitation. As we move into Thursday, the ridge still building strong along the west coast, with any systems being pushed off to the east. By Friday, we will see that next area of low pressure drop into Montana and northern Idaho, and then by Saturday, swing through the far eastern sides of the Great Basin. This should at least kick up some of the winds over western areas to clear out some of the inversions. And then by Sunday, maybe another weak system dropping south. But for the most part, generally light precipitation expected over the next 7 days, if any at all. The precipitation forecast for Thursday through Saturday, you can see here, still dry across much of Nevada and Utah, with some lighter precipitation with those systems dropping down further north for Idaho and Wyoming. And then going from Saturday through Monday, again, some better chances further south for some light precipitation into Utah. Back into Nevada, this remains to be seen. This might be closer to the Monday-Tuesday time period, but still, again, generally drier conditions for the west and any showers more focused to the east. And then the 7-day total precip taking into account for the next 7 days. The 8 to 14-day outlook shows cooler than normal temperatures, again with some of those inversions in place and also those sliders dropping down from the north. And then above normal precipitation as we go late into January into early February as we see storms move back into the west coast. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.